I'ma get it on the floor. You really about to do it? 40 acres in the do it. 40 acres in the do it. 40 acres in the think it on it like that. Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like whoa. Mustard on a beat, bro, beat, bro.
Okay, you guys, Kelly commentates here. It's time for the men's event. Let's go ahead and look at the current rankings and then lead to our predictions for Worlds 2025. Today, we're going to look at the ISU points and rankings. We'll also be looking at elements that have the highest GOE, which means grade of execution. We'll also be looking at season's best scores, who's got the momentum, and finally, my predictions. Stick around, it's going to be fun.
Wow! What's this?
This is the North Pole.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Where's the snow?
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
It's time for the announcement. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh, my God! Santa here? I know him. Santa's coming.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at some of the top scores of the season. The very top two scores are actually from the same skater, Ilia Malinin. At Lombardia Trophy way earlier in the season, he scored 312 and 55 points, which is absolutely fantastic. And then later at the Grand Prix of Canada, he got 301.82. The third highest score is Yuma Kagiyama from Grand Prix Japan, and he scored 300.09. And if we go down a little bit to the seventh highest place score, we have Shun Sato of Japan getting 285.55 at Lombardia Trophy. Mikhail Shaidarov got the eighth highest score at Four Continents with 285.10. Kevin Amos, many of you may remember his breakout amazing performance at Grand Prix America, getting 282.88. He hasn't really been able to keep up that momentum since the start of the season, so very up and down for Kevin. And then we have Kawamura, who we unfortunately won't be seeing at Worlds. And finally, in 14th, we have Adam Xiaohim-Fa with a total of 272.38, which he got at the Cup of Nice. And Lucas Britschke at Europeans, our European champion, getting the 16th highest score of the season with 267.09. Daniel Grassel has the 17th highest total score of the season of 267.08. Junhua Cha has the 18th highest score from Four Continents of 265.02.
You got the nose wrong. There. Now it's art.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at the skaters who had elements with the highest grade of execution. And as many of you know, we can give up to +5. And so that is how well that the element is actually done. The highest rated grade of execution for an element was Ilia Malinin's quadruple flip from Lombardia Trophy. He got almost 5 points. I think it's 4.62 in grade of execution, which is just huge. Shun Sato's quadruple Lutz from Lombardia Trophy got almost as much as him with 4.60. And look at the total score. So you take the base value of the element and add the grade of execution. Ilia got 15.62 points for one jump, and Shun Sato got 15.10. So that's just huge. Unfortunately, Kawamura we won't even be seeing at Worlds, and at Skate America, he got a quadruple sow triple toe with almost 4 points in grade of execution. Yuma Kagiyama of Japan, his quadruple sow, which is just absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite jumps I've ever seen, especially when he does it well at Lombardia Trophy, getting 3.88 in grade of execution. Nikolai Memela, who's very tall, like over 6 feet tall, can do a beautiful quadruple Lutz. And at Europeans, he got 3.78 in grade of execution, a total of 15.28 points, which is absolutely amazing. Junhwan Cha is also another skater who has a beautiful quadruple sow, and he got a wonderful grade of execution at 4 continents. I was very pleased to see Vladimir Samoilov of Poland as well, his quadruple sow also getting a huge grade of execution at Europeans. And finally, Mikhail Shadorov's quadruple Lutz triple toe. It is such an element of beauty, getting 3.45 grade of execution at 4 continents. So you can see here a lot of the men, especially, look at Yuma. He gets very high grade of execution on many of his elements, specifically the quadruple sow cow, and Ilia Malinin also gets very high grade of execution, especially on his quad flip. So very fun to see here. What do you think of these elements? All right, let's go ahead and talk about the ISU rankings, which one of my subscribers or a commenter noted on a previous video that the ISU rankings kind of don't mean very much. But I still think it's an interesting data point to look at. No surprise, Ilia Malinin in first place with 5,144 points, Adam Xiaohim Fa in second, Yuma Kagiyama in third, Mikhail Shaidorov in fourth with 3,780 points, Shun Sato in fifth, Lucas Bridgky in sixth, Cal Mura in seventh, Matteo Rizzo, who we will not even see at Worlds, neither will we see Cal Mura, but Matteo's in eighth, ninth is Kevin Amelaz, and 10 is Nikolai Memela. So going back to that comment, they were saying that Daniel Grassel in Beijing was the number 1 ranked ISU skater. So he was skating like in the final round with, the likes of these like great skaters. And yet he wasn't really winning or getting medals or anything. So that's just something kind of funny. But the way the skaters rack up points is they basically go to different ISU events and competitions, and they get a certain number of points for their rankings and just for competing. So obviously a skater who competes much more often than another skater who doesn't may end up higher in the rankings. But it's just one data point to look at. I still think it's interesting. I kind of liken it to tennis, where, sometimes the number 1 player can lose to like the number 20 player. So it doesn't mean just because you're number 1 in the ISU rankings that you are, the best of all skaters. Although in this case, Ilia is first, and I guess many would consider him the current best skater. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily are based on these rankings. So again, take it with a grain of big salt, but still another data point to look at.
That's better. Couldn't see a thing.
Woohoo! Go get him, go!
Here they come. Let's pick it up.
Take him. With pleasure.
Bring it on.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about who has the momentum going into Worlds. Momentum's really important because it looks kind of at, the most recent competitions. How are the skaters doing today? While it does matter what they've done historically, and maybe you can see trends across their career, it really does matter, the most recent competitions, and let's see who has the momentum so far. And first, it's no surprise, we have Ilia Malinin. Ilia's continued to have a really good season, building upon his prior successes, and he is the reigning world champion. The year prior at Worlds, he was third with bronze in 2023. But, ever since last season, he's really been pretty much unstoppable, and he has a quad axel. Now, the judges were calling him on many of his jumps at the Grand Prix final, and I know Ilia kind of remarked about it and seemed kind of like something he was going to be working on, but kind of interesting that they were, and maybe fairly so, calling out any under rotations or short of rotations that they saw in his skating. So that's going to be one thing he's going to want to watch out for here, is to be very clean, but that quad axel is such an advantage. Okay, right behind Ilia, I'm very excited to see this skater. We have Mikhail Shaidorov Mikhail Shaidarov of Kazakhstan. He won 4 continents, and he's been getting higher and higher scores as the season progresses. When I first saw him skate last season and kind of realized who he was and saw his long program, I called it right then. Not that that's important, but I just knew that this is a skater who could potentially challenge even Ilia with his tech content. Next up, right behind Mikhail, we have Junhwa Cha of South Korea. He's had a really consistent season, I would say. He's coming off a second place finish at 4 continents, and his scores have ranged in like the 258 all the way up to 281 at the recent Asian Games, scoring very, very high. So he's getting close to that kind of 300 score. Now, he's going to have to really be very clean at Worlds to maintain like a podium finish, but I'm really glad to see where Junhwa is at this point in the season, and it's been a long season for him. Korea has their skaters compete quite a lot. Right behind Junhwa, we have Yuma Kagiyama, the reigning world silver medalist. Now, just because he's been struggling a little bit this season, please keep in mind that Yuma's quote-unquote struggling is, someone else's flourishing. So he's still getting really, really high scores, but he has scored as low as 263 at Grand Prix Finland. But normally he gets in the 280 to all the way up to 300. He did score 300 at NHK Trophy. But recently he's struggled just a little bit. He didn't win Asian Games, coming in second with 272.76. So I think he's really going to want to prove himself here and comes in with some momentum. Right behind Yuma, we have his compatriot Shun Sato, and Shun has had a really up and down season. His trajectory has really been trending downward. However, he did get 276 points at Winterfest in Okayama back in January. So he kind of ranges. He scored as high as 285 at Lombardia last fall, but then recently he had a couple of bad skates. Japanese nationals, he was 7th with only 230 points. And then at the Asian Games in February, he also got 232 points. So I think he's going to have a lot to prove here. He's definitely a really good skater, but I don't know if maybe he's tired out or, there could possibly be an injury, but I haven't heard anything about that. However, I'm really hoping that Shun will have a Worlds that he's very proud of here. Next up, from the United States, a skater I'm really, really excited about, we have Andrew Torgashev of the United States. He's been having a really great and steady season so far. He scored as low as 207 at Nablehorn, but his recent competitions, he scored as high as 286 at US Nationals, where he got second place. At NHK Trophy, he was 4th place and did even get a bronze medal at Grand Prix France. So I think Andrew, needs to focus here on being very clean, focus on performance quality, and we could see him have a good result here. Right behind him, we have reigning bronze Worlds medalist Adam Xiaohim-Fa. He has definitely built some momentum, especially in recent months, getting 281 points at the recent Sonia Henny Trophy. At Europeans, he also did get on the podium with 3rd place with 257 points. So the whole theme of Adam's season has kind of been recovery from a potential injury. He does a backflip on ice, which at this point I'm kind of wondering if the payoff is really that strong for that type of element. But Adam's kind of a question mark for me. He can definitely perform really, really well when it counts, so I will rely on him for that, but we're going to just have to see how he does at this World's Championships. Right behind him, we have reigning European champion Lukas Brycki, also recovering from an injury and obviously doing very well at Europeans. He was kind of the champion that could, so to speak, and the one that I didn't really expect, and he kind of came out of left field. But, he has the goods. He has really hard elements. His program components and kind of content isn't necessarily my favorite. I don't really find him that artistic of a skater, but he definitely could potentially podium, and he does have the goods to, rise up in the ranks. All right after him, we have Nikolai Memela of Italy. It is confirmed that he will be going to Worlds. He beat out both Gabriella Frangipani and Matteo Rizzo and has been doing a really good job getting some really high scores this season. And, he has some really, really nice elements. He has nice spins. He does a beautiful quadruple Lutz and I believe a quadruple Lutz triple toe. I really like his packaging. And he looks striking on the ice because he is so tall. He's over 6 feet tall. So definitely a really nice skater and could make some splashes or some movement here at Worlds. Okay, and right behind Nikolai, we have his compatriot Daniel Grassel, as well as Iteri skater Nika Egatse. I kind of have these skaters with similar momentum. Both of them, well, first of all, with Daniel, he got scored extremely high at Universiade, 280 points, getting into the upper echelons of men's skating. Italian nationals, which could be inflated, he got 272. But then earlier in the season, more scoring around like the 250 range. He does attempt a quadruple loop, which often gets under-rotated, and quadruple loop. I hope I said that correctly. And other quadruple jumps as well. But a lot of people critique him for his air position. He kind of like strains his neck and it just looks a little awkward while he's skating. Whereas Nika Egatse to me is the better skater between him and Daniel, but he's really struggled with consistency. Daniel got 8th place at Europeans with 237 and Nika Egatse got 4th place with 243 points. But the thing is, Nika can score in the 260 range, which he did at Skate America, getting personal best, but since then kind of struggling, getting as low as 217 at Golden Spin of Zagreb in December. So Nika is one of those skaters where I really, really enjoy his skating, and I just think the consistency is not necessarily there yet. So I think he's got a lot to prove at this Worlds, and kind of going in with the same momentum as Daniel Grassel, who I actually thought Daniel might win Europeans because he was getting scored so high, but he really just kind of flunked that opportunity.
Spirits above us, count to 13, and get me 3 tacos with a Crunch Wrap Supreme!
Sir, I think you're looking for Taco Bell.
Okay, for my predictions, I put Ilia Malinin in first place. I think he'll win his 2nd Worlds title, and that is not a very shocking prediction. I think just he's kind of ahead above the other competition, only with maybe Yuma Kagiyama getting close to his scores, or maybe Mikhail Shidorov up and coming. Okay, in 2nd place, I'm saying Junhwa Cha of South Korea. I think he's really got the momentum. He's been very consistent lately, and I don't know, I kind of expect mistakes from the other men potentially, leaving Junhwa in a really good position for a possible silver. And in 3rd place, I have Yuma Kagiyama of Japan. Now, Yuma could certainly get silver. He could even win. He reminds me a lot of Monet Chiba, like definitely has the goods, constantly getting 2nd to the other, best skater. But I just think that Yuma is definitely going to podium here, especially because kind of the latter half of his season hasn't been very consistent. I think that he's going to really come out swinging and try to present his best programs and elements. Okay, let's go over 4th through 8th place, and this is kind of in the order that I sort of expect to see them. Now, you will see a very lack of Jason Brown here, and he could certainly get into the top 8, but he's kind of a question mark for me, especially because he did not have a good Grand Prix season. He didn't go to U.S. Nationals. We kind of haven't really seen him in quite a few months. So personally, I don't feel comfortable putting him in the top 8 quite yet, but he definitely could, get up in there. But in 4th, I kind of see Mikhail Shidorov of Kazakhstan. I could even see him possibly getting on the podium, especially with his super difficult tech elements. I mean, he does a triple axel, Euler, quadruple sow cow. Not even Ilia Malinin has done that before. I think Mikhail was the first man to land that. And unfortunately, the tech is a big part of the results here. Next to him, I have Adam Chauhimfa of France. I think that Adam is generally a very strong skater, and even though he can have ups and downs, his peaks and valleys just aren't quite as extreme as, some of the other skaters like Shun Sato. In 6th place, I'm putting him here. I think Andrew Torgashev has had a really good season. I think with it being a home Worlds, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage, whether fair or not. And I do expect to see him in the top 8 here. Next to him, we have Shun Sato. I think Shun has a lot to prove, especially with some not very good competitions, particularly Japanese nationals, but he can really be up there with the upper ranks, and I think he's really going to want to prove himself. And in 8th, my prediction is Nika Agatse of Georgia. I think after a, not necessarily brilliant Europeans, but decent, I think that he's really going to also have something to prove here. So as always, guys, it's going to come down to the day of competition. It's going to come down to who's in the zone, whose mind is right with it, and, who is ready to go all out and show out. What do you think of my predictions? What would you change? Do you think someone else is going to win? Do you think the order would be different? Have I forgotten someone? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. As always, over and out. This is Kelly Commentates.